You know, it's kind of weird to say today on screenshots and remote control, its combination, one of the best movies of the 1970s wasn't on the big screen. It should have been a big screen movie with a bigger cast, but this is one of the most outstanding episodic shows or episodes in British history. Now, the spine-chilling 70s anthology Thriller had a lot of great episodes. The great Brian Clemens put it all together. But A Coffin for the Bride stands out because this is like a double film noir, because we really don't know what's going on until the denouement, and basically it's so much a revelation of positivity that you have to watch it 2 or 3 times to really catch on what's going on. Now in this one, 2 wealthy middle-aged brides have died under mysterious circumstances. They passed away from water and inhalation in bathtubs, leaving their fortunes to new husbands. Now solicitor Oliver Mason, played by the great Michael Gwynn, believes that these women were murdered and were married to the same man. Upon investigation, he finds his suspicions are true. Mason follows the lady killer, Michael Jadson, as he moves on to a health spa in search of new prey. There he meets a beautiful young woman played by Helen Mirren, who steals his heart. He also happens upon a potential new victim, the loud and vulgar and stinking rich Angela Ludlow. For once he would like to follow his heart, but he cannot resist this one final score. Now, Thriller, obviously Brian Clemens did a great job with the whole series, and he said this was his favorite episode. Now, it was a takeoff on a real case in the early 1900s concerning one George Joseph Smith, who was executed in 1915 for murdering his 3 wives in a case known as the Brides in the Bath. He married, swindled, and then murdered 3 women by drowning them in their honeymoons by means of immersion in a bathtub. Now, it premiered on U.S. television as an installment of ABC's Wide World of Mystery series and later was retitled Kiss, Kiss, Kill, Kill for syndication. Now, with Thriller, basically, it was like no science fiction elements. But this series really stood out because Helen Mirren at the time was in the height of her, her beauty. She was luminous in this episode. She had done episodic TV and movies before. But this, for some reason, was tremendous. And the cast itself, this came out on June 1st, 81. Michael Jadson, Helen Mirren, Michael Gwynn, Richard Coleman, Margaret Courtney, Josephine Toussaint, Arthur English, and Donnie Steedman. And of course, Hugh Morton was in this in as well. Now, Michael Jason, who passed away actually, unfortunately, last year, was an English actor. He played Nicholas II of Russia in the film Nicholas Alexander, which drew a lot of interest. Now, the native of Nottingham also made numerous TV appearances, which included portraying Peter Gilliam in the miniseries Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy in 1979. He also played the Valeyard in all 14 episodes of the Doctor Who serial The Trial of a Time Lord, and he appeared in only Fools and Horses episode Time on Our Hands and Raquel's father, James. Now, he played numerous Shakespearean roles on TV, including Macbeth in 1970, Gratiano in The Merchant of Venice, and Edmo in King Lear. An early recurring television role was as civil servant Dowling in the final series of the boardroom drama, The Power Game in 1969. Now, he made 2 appearances in Thriller in 1974, and as well in 1975 playing Quiller, a spy who never used a gun, in the short-lived British TV series of the same name. He appeared as Domford Yates, gentleman hero Jonathan Mansell in the 1978 BBC adaptation of She Fell Among Thieves. Now he co-starred again with Alex Guinness in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Doctor Who, of course, Valeyard in numerous episodes. He also was in the 1968 version of A Midsummer's Night Dream, and he also played Henry Ireton in the very underrated Cromwell in 1970. And again, Tsar Nicholas II and Nicholas Alexander, he did well. Now, he appeared as Gratiano opposite Laurence Olivier Shylock in National Theatre's film, The Merchant of Venice. So by the time he was on TV in Thriller, he was well noted for being a tremendous actor. And of course, his other Thriller episode was Ring Once for Death, which is also a very underrated show. So if you want to see this episode, it's on Tubi and other streaming services. But Helen Mirren in this, again, she exudes a sexuality that can't be described other than saying she is totally beautiful in this. Now, Helen Mirren had a very interesting acting style at the time. She would adapt to the characterization. She would give her a piece of herself in the movie. Now, ironically, ladies and gentlemen, she'll be 80 this summer. But by the time she appeared on Thriller, she was a part of the Royal Shakespearean Company for a short while. Now, by the time she appeared on Thriller, it was basically her stage work was now known. But she played Maylene Macbeth at Stratford in 1974 and the Aldwych Theatre in 1975. And of course, she appeared with Laurence Olivier, Alan Bates, and Malcolm McDowell in production of Harold Pinter's The Collection as part of Laurence Olivier Presents a series. So, I mean, Mirren at the time, like I said, this was well before Excalibur, long before she did, the very interesting, movie with James Mason back in the early 70s, which I think was one of the first independent movies to come to Australia. So, again, key roles on film, movies, A Midsummer and A Night's Dream, and of course Age of Consent, which is, again, one of the most underrated movies of the late 1960s. Now, at the time, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm not mistaken, she was, I think, 24 years old at the time, and she had numerous nude scenes, so we saw her, in the full altogether. By the time she showed up on Twilight Zone in 2010, by the mid-1980s, and of course, Along Good Friday and Excalibur, seeing Helen Mirren before she was a major superstar, but she was a sensation of this. So all I can say, ladies and gentlemen, watch closely A Coffin for the Bride. What gives the big denouement away? Because if you look like film noir, it is probably one of the most structured British solo episodes of all time. I can say it's just as good as a Twilight Zone or a Night Gallery, because when you watch it and you figure out what's going on, it's just sweet justice for people that are evil and are caught out by good. But you got to watch closely. And there's a 5-minute period, but 3/4 of the way through, where the Helen Mirren character disappears. And that's a red flag, like, why did she disappear? And we find out very quickly what's going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the part of our Helen Mirren tribute today. If you like what we're doing here with our TV historical podcast, let us know what a like, comment, subscribe, or share.